The stars above Earth began to shift and bend as something massive pushed its way through space itself. Admiral Kyle Harrison stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the impossible sight through the main window. The thing coming toward them was bigger than anything he had ever seen. It was not just one ship, but hundreds of them, all connected together like a floating city made of metal and light. Kyle had been in charge of Earth's space defense for 12 years. He had seen alien ships before, but nothing like this. The massive structure blocked out entire star systems as it moved closer to Earth. His hands shook slightly as he picked up the communication device. All ships, this is Admiral Harrison. Form up around Earth. Do not fire unless I give the order. His voice stayed calm, even though his heart was racing. He knew that whatever was coming, humanity was about to face its biggest test, the alien. Structure stopped just outside Earth's moon. It was so large that it cast shadows across half the planet. On the bridge, Lieutenant Commander Nicole Davis ran her fingers over the scanning equipment. The readings made no sense. The ship was made of materials that Earth's computers could not identify. "Sir, we're getting a transmission," said Captain Ryan Bell from his station. "It's coming from the big ship." Kyle nodded. "Put it on the main screen." The air in front of them began to glow and shimmer. Slowly, a figure appeared. It was tall, maybe 8 feet, and seemed to be made of living crystal. Light moved through its body like water. When it spoke, the voice came from everywhere at once. "I am Supreme Chancellor Zethkar of the Galaxy Council. You will listen, and you will obey." Kyle stepped forward. "I am Admiral Kyle Harrison of the Earth Defense Force. State your business in our space." The crystal being made a sound that might have been laughter. "Your space? Small creature, you know nothing of space. We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. Every world, every system, every species bows to our will. You are nothing but children playing with toys." Around the crystal being, other shapes appeared. One looked like a machine with glowing red eyes. Another was made of pure energy, shifting and changing like a living flame. A third had tentacles that moved through the air like they were underwater. "We are the Galaxy Council," Zethkar continued. "We decide who lives and who dies. We decide who may travel between the stars and who must stay on their little worlds. For too long, we have watched you humans spread through space like a disease. You build weapons. You fight wars. You refuse to accept your place." Kyle felt anger rising in his chest. And what place would that be? "Beneath us," the crystal being said simply. "You will surrender your weapons. You will accept our governors on your world. You will do as we command, or you will die. All of you." The machine creature stepped forward. "I am Nexus Prime of the Collective. Your computer systems are primitive. Your defenses are weak. We could destroy you with a thought." The energy being pulsed brighter. "I am Luminary High Command. We have burned 1,000 worlds. Your son will be next if you do not submit." Kyle looked at each of them. He had spent his whole life preparing for this moment, even though he had never known it would come. "And if we refuse?" Zethkar's crystal form seemed to grow larger. "Then in 24 hours, Earth will be nothing but dust and ash. Your species will be remembered only as a warning to others who think they can defy the Galaxy Council." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge in silence. Kyle turned to his crew. Every face showed the same mix of fear and determination that he felt. "Nicole, get me a direct line to President Martinez. Ryan, contact all fleet commanders. Tell them to prepare for battle stations, but do not engage. We need to think about this." As his crew rushed to follow orders, Kyle stared out at the massive alien structure. 24 hours. That was not much time to figure out how to fight something that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. On Earth, President Linda Martinez was already in the Situation Room, deep beneath the Capitol. The room was full of military leaders, scientists, and government officials. Everyone was talking at once, trying to understand what they were facing. Quiet. Linda's voice cut through the noise. General Brooks, what do we know about their capabilities? General Peter Brooks stood up. He was a big man with gray hair and scars on his hands from his days as a soldier. From what our sensors can tell, they have at least 500 ships. Each one is bigger than our largest carrier. Their weapons are beyond anything we've seen before. They can manipulate gravity, control energy, and seem to have some kind of mind control abilities. Dr. Aaron Webb, Earth's top scientist, adjusted his glasses. The technology they're showing is thousands of years ahead of ours, maybe tens of thousands. Their materials, their energy systems, their propulsion, it's all completely alien to. U.S. Admiral Karen Stone, who commanded Earth's orbital defenses, leaned forward. What about their weaknesses? There has to be something. Aaron shook his head. From what we can see, they don't have any. They're faster than us, stronger than us, and they have technology we can't even understand. Honestly, I don't see how. We can fight them. Linda looked around the room. So what are you all saying? That we should just give up? Let them take over our world? That's not what I'm saying, Aaron replied. I'm saying we need to be smart about this. Maybe we can negotiate. Maybe we can find a way to coexist. General Brooks slammed his fist on the table. Coexist? Did you hear what they said? They want to put governors on Earth. They want to control us like we're animals in a zoo. That's not coexistence. That's slavery. But what choice do we have? Ask Dr. Webb. If we fight them, they'll destroy us. If we surrender, at least our species will survive. Linda stood up slowly. She was a small woman, but when she spoke, everyone listened. I became president to protect the people of Earth. I've made hard choices before, but this is different. This isn't about politics or economics. This is about freedom. This is about the right to decide our own future. She looked at each person. In the room, I know the odds. I know we're probably going to lose. But I also know that humanity has never backed down from a fight when our freedom was at stake. We didn't give up when we were cavemen fighting wild animals. We didn't give up when we were building the first cities. We didn't give up when we reached for the stars. The room was quiet now. Everyone could feel the weight of the decision. I won't ask anyone to die for this, Linda continued. But I won't ask anyone to live as a slave either. We have 24 hours to figure out how to fight gods. If we fail, at least we'll fail as free people. Admiral Stone spoke up. What? About our secret projects? The things we've been working on that no one talks about? Linda and General Brooks exchanged a look. What secret projects? Asked Dr. Webb. The ones you don't have clearance for, Brooks replied. The ones that might. Just give us a chance. As the meeting continued, Kyle Harrison remained on his ship, staring at the alien fleet. He thought about his daughter back on Earth, about the life she would have if humanity lost this fight. He thought about all the people who were counting on him to find a way to win an impossible battle. 20-4 hours. The clock was ticking, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Deep beneath a mountain in Colorado, Colonel Jake Morrison walked through corridors that officially did not exist. The walls were made of a strange metal that seemed to absorb light, and the air hummed with energy from machines that most people would never see. Jake had been part of the Human Enhancement Project for 15 years, and today, everything they had worked for would finally matter. The elevator took him down 50 floors below ground level. When the doors opened, he stepped into a room full. of people who looked almost human, but not quite. Their eyes glowed slightly in the dim light. Their movements were too fast, too precise. When they spoke, their voices carried harmonics that normal humans could not produce. "Jake," said Commander Lisa Grant, turning from a bank of monitors, "I was wondering when you'd show up. The Galaxy Council has given us quite a deadline." Jake looked at the screens showing the alien fleet. Even with his enhanced vision, the details were hard to make out. "How many of our people are ready?" 237, Lisa replied. "All of them volunteers. All of them enhanced to the maximum safe levels." She paused. "Some beyond safe levels." Jake nodded. The enhancement project had been humanity's most carefully guarded secret. For 50 years, volunteers had undergone genetic modifications, cybernetic implants, and consciousness expansions. The goal had always been to create humans who could think faster, move quicker, and understand more than any normal person could. The process was dangerous. For every person who successfully completed the enhancement, 3 others died or went. Insane. But those who survived became something new, still human, but more than human. "What about the new batch?" Jake asked. Lisa's expression grew serious. 12 volunteers for the Extreme Enhancement Protocol. They know the risks. 90% mortality rate. And those who survive, well, they might not be entirely human anymore. Jake had undergone the Extreme Enhancement 3 years ago. The process had taken 6 months, and it killed him twice. But when he woke up, he could think at the speed of light, see across the electromagnetic spectrum, and understand physics in ways that made Einstein look like a child. "We'll need them," Jake said. "The Council's technology is beyond anything we've seen. We need every advantage we can get." In another part of the facility, Dr. Aaron Webb was getting his first look at humanity's real technological capabilities. General Brooks had brought him to a laboratory that seemed to exist in several dimensions at once. Equipment floated in mid-air, held in place by forces that Webb could not identify. "What is this place?" Webb asked, trying to keep the amazement out of his voice. "This is where we've been preparing for this day," Brooks replied. "Everything you know about human technology is just the surface. The real advances have been kept secret, waiting for the right moment." A woman in a lab coat approached them. She looked normal, but when she spoke, her voice carried the harmonic distortions of an enhanced human. "Dr. Webb, I'm Dr. Sarah Kim. I've been following your work on alien technology. Very impressive, given the limitations of your clearance." "Level?" Webb felt slightly insulted. "Limitations?" Sarah smiled. "Doctor, you've been studying crashed alien ships and intercepted transmissions. We've been reverse engineering their technology for 70 years. We've had living aliens in our custody. We've been inside their ships, learned their languages, and understood their science." She led them to a window that looked out into a vast hangar. Inside, ships that looked nothing like human technology floated in the air. They were sleek, organic-looking, and seemed to pulse with their own inner light. "These are the first generation of truly human starships," Sarah explained. "They use principles we learned from the Vorthik, materials we developed from studying Nexus technology, and power systems based on luminary energy manipulation. But they're not copies. They're something entirely new." Webb stared at the ships. "How long have you been building these?" 20 years, Brooks replied. "We've been preparing for this war since the first alien ship crashed on Earth. We knew that someday they would come for us. We just didn't know when." Sarah touched a control panel, and one of the ships began to glow brighter. "The Council thinks they know everything about human technology. They've been watching us, studying us, analyzing our capabilities. But they've only seen what we wanted them to see." Meanwhile, Captain Ryan Bell was aboard his ship, the Shadowrunner, preparing for the most important mission of his life. The Shadowrunner was not like other human ships. It had been built using technology that the Council had never seen, because it came from a species the Council had completely destroyed 500 years ago. "Emma, are you ready?" Ryan asked Commander Emma Foster, who was checking the ship's systems. "As ready as anyone can be for a suicide mission," Emma replied. "The stealth systems are online. The phase shift drive is charged, and the reality anchors are in position. If this works, we'll be able to move through space in ways that the Council can't detect or follow." Ryan nodded. The Shadowrunner was designed to phase in and out of normal spacetime. It could exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, allowing it to travel through solid matter and bypass most forms of detection. The technology was so advanced that even enhanced humans had trouble understanding how it worked. "What about the weapon systems?" Ryan asked. Emma's expression grew grim. "The dimensional torpedoes are loaded. Each one can punch a hole through spacetime itself. If we hit their ships with these, the damage won't just be physical. It'll tear apart the very fabric of reality around them." The weapons were based on principles that most humans could not comprehend. They didn't just destroy matter, they erased it from existence entirely. The Council's shields, designed to deflect energy and physical objects, would be useless against weapons that attacked the fundamental structure of space itself. Back on Earth, President Martinez was meeting with a group of people who, according to all official records, did not exist. They were the leaders of humanity's shadow government, the people who had been preparing for this day for decades. "The Council has made their demands," Linda said. 24 hours to surrender or face destruction. I need to know exactly what we're capable of." General Patricia Hayes, who commanded the Enhanced Human Corps, spoke first. "We have over 2,000 enhanced humans ready for combat. They're faster, stronger, and smarter than any normal human. More importantly, they think in ways that alien minds can't predict." Admiral Stone added, "Our secret fleet is ready. 50 ships built with hybrid technology, crewed by enhanced humans, and equipped with weapons that exist in multiple dimensions. The Council has never seen anything like them." Dr. Kim, who had been brought in via secure transmission, continued the briefing. "Our analysis of Council technology shows several potential weaknesses. They rely heavily on quantum computing systems that operate on predictable algorithms. They use energy shields that can be disrupted by specific frequency combinations. Most importantly, they think in patterns that we've been studying for decades." Linda looked around the room. "And our chances of winning?" The room fell silent. Finally, General Hayes spoke. "Unknown. We've never fought a war like this before. The Council has superior numbers, superior technology, and 10,000 years of experience. But they've never fought humans before either." "What do you mean?" Linda asked. "Every species the Council has conquered has been predictable," Hayes explained. "They develop their technology slowly. They follow logical patterns. They can be understood and countered. Humans are different. We adapt, we improvise, we do things that make no sense to other species." Dr. Kim nodded. "The Council's battle computers are programmed with the combat data from hundreds of conquered species. They know how every other race fights, how they react under pressure, how they can be defeated, but they have no data on humans in real combat." Linda felt a spark of hope. "So we have the element of surprise?" "More than that," General Hayes replied. "We have the element of chaos. The Council expects logic, strategy, and predictable responses. We can give them the exact opposite." As the meeting continued, enhanced humans throughout the solar system were taking their positions. Major Danny Cooper was stationed near Jupiter, where humanity had been building weapons platforms for 20 years. The platforms looked like asteroids, but they contained singularity generators, capable of creating artificial black holes. Captain Ben Turner was leading a squadron of stealth fighters to positions around the Council fleet. The fighters were so small and quiet that they were nearly invisible, but each one carried enough firepower to destroy a city. Commander Steve Parker was aboard the orbital command station, coordinating the movements of human forces throughout the solar system. His enhanced mind could process information from thousands of sources simultaneously, allowing him to see patterns that no normal human could comprehend. All of them were waiting for the signal to begin humanity's first galactic war. The clock was ticking down. In 18 hours, the Galaxy Council would expect humanity's answer. They thought they knew what that answer would be. They thought they understood what humans were capable of. They were about to learn how wrong they could be. The 24 hours had passed. Supreme Chancellor Zeth Kar stood in the command center of the massive Council flagship, surrounded by the leaders of 12 alien species. Each one had ruled their part of the galaxy for thousands of years. None of them had ever faced a species that dared to refuse their demands. The humans have not responded, reported Nexus Prime, the machine intelligence that spoke for the collective. Their silence is their answer. Zeth Kar's crystal form pulsed with angry light. Then they have chosen death. Begin the demonstration. Destroy their moon first. Let them watch their sky change before we burn their world. The Luminary High Command, a being of pure energy, began to glow brighter. Our starfire weapons are charged. We will turn their moon to plasma, then ignite their atmosphere. It will be over quickly. Around the flagship, hundreds of council ships moved into attack formation. Each ship was larger than Earth's biggest cities, and each one carried weapons that could destroy planets. The Council had used this same formation to conquer 1,000 worlds. It had never failed. Admiral Kyle Harrison watched the alien fleet move from the bridge of his ship. Every instinct told him to run, to get his people as far away as possible. But he stayed in position, waiting for the signal that would either save humanity or doom it forever. "Sir, they're powering up their weapons," reported Nicole Davis. "Energy readings are off the charts." Kyle nodded. "Hold position. Trust the plan." The plan was insane. Kyle knew it. His crew knew it, and probably the people who had made it knew it too. But it was the only chance they had. On the Council flagship, the tactical computers were analyzing human ship movements. The data made no sense. Instead of forming defensive positions around Earth, the human ships were scattering in what looked like complete panic. Some were heading toward the outer planets, others were diving toward the sun, and a few seemed to be running away from the solar system entirely. "They're retreating," observed Commander Vorth of the Psychic Vorthok. "Their minds are filled with terror. They know they cannot win." Zeth Kar made the crystal equivalent of a laugh. "Of course they're running. They're a young species. They have no experience with real war. Begin the attack." The first wave of Council ships moved forward, their weapons charging with enough energy to crack moons. The tactical computers had calculated the optimal firing positions, the best angles of attack, and the most efficient way to destroy the human fleet. What the computers had not calculated was that the humans were not running away. They were moving into position, deep in the asteroid belt. Major Danny Cooper watched his instruments as the Council ships approached. The weapons platform he commanded looked like just another piece of space rock, but it contained technology that could bend space itself. "This is Cooper," he said into his communicator. "Targets are in position, beginning Phase 1. He pressed a series of buttons, and the space around the Council fleet began to change. The artificial gravity generators that humanity had been hiding throughout the solar system for decades suddenly activated. Invisible fields of twisted space-time wrapped around the alien ships like chains. On the Council flagship, alarms began to sound. The navigation computers were reporting impossible readings. The ships were still moving forward, but space itself was moving around them. "What is happening?" demanded Zethkar. "Unknown, Chancellor," replied the tactical officer. "Our ships are trapped in some kind of gravitational anomaly. We cannot maneuver." Nexus Prime's red eyes flashed. "This is not natural. The humans have done something to space itself." The Council had fought wars across the galaxy for 10,000 years, but they had never encountered weapons that could manipulate the fundamental forces of the universe. Their shields could deflect energy, their armor could stop projectiles, but they had no defense against attacks on spacetime itself. Captain Ryan Bell brought the Shadowrunner out of its dimensional hiding place, peering directly inside the Council formation. The stealth ship had been moving through folded space, invisible to every sensor the aliens possessed. "Emma, are you seeing this? The Council ships are stuck. They can't move, they can't turn, they can't even fire their weapons properly. The gravity fields are disrupting everything." Ryan smiled grimly. "Then let's give them something else to worry about. Launch the dimensional torpedoes." The Shadowrunner fired weapons that should not have been possible. The torpedoes did not travel through space. They traveled through the spaces between spaces, appearing inside the Council ships without passing through their shields or armor. The first torpedo struck the Vorthic command ship. The explosion did not just destroy the ship. It tore a hole in reality itself. The ship, its crew, and a sphere of space around it simply ceased to exist. On the Council flagship, panic was beginning to spread. The psychic Vorthic had been trying to use their mental powers to control human minds, but they were finding something impossible. Human thoughts were chaos. There was no pattern, no logic, no way to predict what they would do next. "The humans are not thinking correctly," reported Commander Vorth. "Their minds are wrong. They make decisions that have no logical basis. They fight in ways that make no sense." Zethkar's crystal form was pulsing with confusion and anger. "What do you mean?" "They are not following any known battle doctrine. They should be trying to protect their home planet, but instead they are attacking our strongest ships. They should be using their most powerful weapons first, but they seem to be saving them. They should be afraid, but their minds are full of joy." The truth was that enhanced humans thought differently than any other species in the galaxy. Their minds had been expanded beyond normal limits, allowing them to process information and make decisions in ways that seemed random to outside observers. But there was a pattern to their chaos, a method to their madness that the Council could not understand. Colonel Jake Morrison was leading a squad of enhanced humans in a direct assault on one of the Council's carrier ships. They were not using conventional weapons or tactics. Instead, they were phase-shifting through the ship's hull, appearing in critical locations, and using their superhuman abilities to tear the ship apart from the inside. "Jake, this is impossible," said one of his squad members, Lieutenant Carol Webb. "I'm seeing through their quantum encryption like it's made of glass. Their computer systems are designed to be unhackable, but they're using algorithms that are totally predictable." Jake nodded as he ripped through a bulkhead with his bare hands. "That's the problem with being ancient. You perfect your systems, and then you never change them. We've been studying their technology for decades." The enhanced humans moved through the ship like ghosts, striking at critical systems and disappearing before the alien crew could react. Their enhanced reflexes allowed them to dodge energy blasts. Their modified strength let them tear through alien armor, and their expanded minds let them understand alien technology better than the aliens themselves. Meanwhile, Commander Steve Parker was coordinating the battle from his command center. His enhanced mind was processing data from thousands of sources simultaneously, seeing patterns and connections that no normal human could comprehend. "All units, this is Parker," he said into his communicator. "The Council is trying to adapt to our tactics. They're modifying their formations and adjusting their weapons. Time for Phase 2. Phase 2 was even more insane than Phase 1. Human ships that had been hiding in the outer solar system suddenly appeared throughout the Council fleet, materializing from hyperspace jumps that should have been impossible. They were not just appearing randomly, they were appearing inside the alien ships themselves. The technology was based on principles that the Council had never encountered. Instead of moving through space, the human ships were moving through time, appearing in the past and future simultaneously. The alien sensors could not track them because they were not following the normal rules of causality. Captain Ben Turner's fighter squadron was using similar technology, phasing in and out of different time streams to attack the Council ships from multiple temporal angles. The aliens were firing at targets that were sometimes in the past, sometimes in the future, and sometimes in several different time periods at once. "This is Turner," he reported. "The Council's temporal defenses are non-existent." They're not. Even trying to protect against time-based attacks. The reason was simple. In 10,000 years of galactic conquest, the Council had never encountered a species that could manipulate time itself. Most races took millions of years to develop such technology, if they ever developed it at all. Humans had managed it in less than a century through a combination of alien technology, human intuition, and sheer desperate innovation. On the Council flagship, the situation was becoming desperate. Half their fleet was trapped in gravitational anomalies. A quarter was being destroyed by weapons that bypassed their defenses entirely, and the rest was being attacked by enemies that seemed to exist in multiple time periods at once. "How is this possible?" Zethkar demanded. "They are a primitive species. They have barely left their home world. How can they have technology that we have never seen?" Nexus Prime's mechanical voice was filled with something that sounded like fear. "They are in." The battle had been raging for 30 minutes, and the Galaxy Council was discovering what it meant to fight humanity. Their perfect formations were broken, their ancient tactics were useless, and their technological superiority was meaningless against enemies who refused to follow the rules of conventional warfare. Admiral Kyle Harrison stood on the bridge of his ship, watching the impossible scene unfold before him. Council ships that had seemed invincible were burning, exploding, or simply vanishing from existence. The alien fleet that had threatened to destroy Earth was falling apart. "Sir, we're getting reports from all fronts," said Nicole Davis. Her voice filled with amazement. "The Council's main battle line is collapsing. Their carrier groups are in full retreat, and their flagship is trying to escape." Kyle nodded grimly. "Don't let them. Signal all units. No Council ship leaves this system. We end this here and now." The decision to show no mercy was not made lightly. Humanity had learned from studying the Council's history that they never forgave, never forgot, and never stopped hunting their enemies. If even one Council ship escaped, they would return with reinforcements and turn Earth into a dead world. Colonel Jake Morrison was leading his enhanced human squad through the corridors of a Council dreadnought. The ship was huge, built to intimidate, as much as to fight, but it was also old. Its designers had created it millions of years ago, when warfare was different and enemies were predictable. "The bridge is 2 levels up," said Lieutenant Carol Webb, her enhanced senses allowing her to see through the ship's hull. "But there's something strange about the crew. They're not moving like they should be." Jake paused, extending his own enhanced senses. He could feel the alien minds above them, and Carol was right. They were not reacting to the invasion of their ship with panic or anger. Instead, they seemed confused, almost lost. "They don't know how to fight us," Jake realized. "They've conquered so many worlds that they've forgotten what it's like to be on the losing side." The truth was even more devastating than Jake understood. The Council species had been so dominant for so long that they had no experience with defeat. Their military training, their battle tactics, and their entire way of thinking were based on the assumption that they were always the stronger force. When faced with an enemy that was not only winning, but using completely incomprehensible methods, the Council crews were psychologically unprepared. They had no procedures for dealing with dimensional weapons, no protocols for fighting enemies who could manipulate time, and no understanding of how to respond to attacks that bypassed their defenses entirely. Meanwhile, Commander Steve Parker was orchestrating the final phase of the battle from his command center. His enhanced mind was processing information from across the entire solar system, coordinating attacks that were happening in multiple dimensions and time periods simultaneously. "All units, this is Parker," he announced. "The Council is trying to form a new defensive line around their flagship. Don't let them. Turner, take your squadron and hit them from the past. Cooper, create a gravitational maze around their retreat path. Morrison, keep pushing through their big ships." The coordinated assault was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Human forces were attacking from directions that should not have existed, using weapons that violated the fundamental laws of physics, and employing tactics that seemed to defy logic itself. Captain Ben Turner's fighter squadron was attacking the Council's ships from 3 different time periods at once. His pilots would appear in the past, fire their weapons, then jump to the future to see the results of their attack. The Council's gunners were trying to shoot at targets that were sometimes hours in the past or future. "This is Turner," he reported. "The Council's temporal shielding is completely inadequate. They're not even trying to defend against time-based attacks. It's like they've never encountered them before." The reason was simple. They had not. In 10,000 years of galactic conquest, the Council had never faced a species that could manipulate time. Most races took millions of years to develop such technology, and by then they were usually too cautious to use it in warfare. Humans had developed time manipulation technology in less than 50 years, largely by accident, and had immediately began thinking of ways to use it as a weapon. The Council's ancient minds could not comprehend such reckless innovation. Major Danny Cooper was using his gravitational weapons to create a maze of twisted spacetime around the Council flagship. The massive alien ship was trapped in a web of artificial gravity wells, unable to move in any direction without risking destruction. "Cooper here," he reported. "The flagship is locked in place. But, sir, I'm reading massive energy buildups throughout their fleet. I think they're preparing to do something desperate." On the Council flagship, Supreme Chancellor Zethkar was indeed preparing for desperate measures. The crystal being's form was pulsing with frantic energy as he communicated with his surviving commanders. "How many ships have we lost?" he demanded. 60% of the fleet is destroyed or disabled," reported the tactical officer. "The remaining ships are scattered and unable to form effective battle groups." Nexus Prime's mechanical voice was filled with something that might have been panic. "The humans are not fighting like any species we have encountered. They use weapons that should not exist, tactics that make no sense, and technology that violates the fundamental laws of physics." The Luminary High Command, its energy form flickering with confusion, added, "They are attacking us from multiple time periods simultaneously. Our sensors show the same human ships in dozens of different temporal locations." "How is this possible?" Zethkar's crystal form grew brighter with rage. "It doesn't matter how they're doing it. We are the Galaxy Council. We have ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We will not be defeated by a species that has barely learned to fly between planets." The Council leader activated the ship's most powerful weapon, a reality disruptor that could tear apart the fabric of space itself. It was a weapon of last resort, one that had never been used in actual combat because it was too dangerous even for the Council to control. "We will destroy this entire system," Zethkar announced. "The humans, their planet, their sun, everything. We will make this region of space uninhabitable for 1,000,000 years. But the Council had made one final fatal mistake. They had assumed that humans were not prepared for such desperate measures. They had forgotten that humanity's greatest strength was their ability to adapt any situation, no matter how impossible it seemed. Dr. Sarah Kim had been monitoring the Council's communications from her laboratory beneath the Colorado mountains. Her enhanced mind had been analyzing their technology throughout the battle, and she had been waiting for exactly this moment. "They're charging a reality disruptor," she reported to the command center. "It's designed to tear apart space-time itself. If they fire it, they'll destroy the entire solar system." Steve Parker's enhanced mind processed this information instantly. "Can we stop it?" "Not stop it," Sarah replied. "But we can redirect it. I've been preparing for this possibility. We can use their own weapon against them." The plan was insane, even by human standards. Instead of trying to block the reality disruptor, they would use humanity's network of hidden dimensional anchors to redirect the weapon's energy back at the Council fleet itself. "All units, this is Parker," Steve announced. "Prepare for emergency dimensional shift. We're about to turn their doomsday weapon into our victory." The dimensional anchors that humanity had been secretly placing throughout the solar system for decades suddenly activated in perfect synchronization. The network created a web of folded space that could redirect energy across multiple dimensions. When the uncorked Council fired their reality disruptor, expecting to tear apart the entire solar system, the weapon's energy was caught by the dimensional network and reflected back at the alien fleet. The beam that should have destroyed Earth instead struck the Council ships with their own devastating power. The results were immediate and catastrophic for the Council. Their reality disruptor was designed to destroy anything it touched, including their own ships. The redirected energy tore through the alien fleet like a sword through paper, destroying dozens of ships in seconds. "Direct hit on the Council flagship," reported Nicole Davis. "Their shields are down, their weapons are offline, and they're venting atmosphere." Kyle Harrison watched as the massive alien ship that had threatened Earth began to break apart. "Prepare boarding parties. We're taking prisoners." The boarding operation was led by Colonel Jake Morrison and his enhanced human squad. A phase shifted directly through the flagship's damaged hull, appearing in the ship's command center, where the Council leaders were trying to understand what had happened to their invincible fleet. Supreme Chancellor Zeethkar turned his crystal form toward the humans who had appeared in his sanctuary. "This is impossible. You are a primitive species. You cannot have defeated us." Jake looked at the alien leader with eyes that glowed with enhanced intelligence. "That's your problem. You keep calling us primitive. You think age equals wisdom, but sometimes experience just means you're stuck in old ways of thinking." Around the command center, other Council members were staring at the humans in shock. Nexus Prime's mechanical systems were sparking with damaged circuit. 3 days after the destruction of the Galaxy Council fleet, Captain Ben Turner stood on the bridge of his ship, looking out at a galaxy that had suddenly become very different. The news of the Council's defeat was spreading faster than light. Itself, carried by quantum communication networks that had been silent for thousands of years. "Captain, we're receiving transmissions from over 200 different star systems," reported his communications officer. "Most of them are asking the same question: is it true? Is the Council really gone?" Ben nodded slowly. The burden of what humanity had accomplished was beginning to sink in. They had not just won a battle, they had ended an era. For 10,000 years, the Galaxy Council had been the ultimate authority in this part of space. Now they were prisoners, and their empire was crumbling on Earth. President Linda Martinez was dealing with the immediate aftermath of humanity's first galactic war. The Situation Room was filled with advisors, military leaders, and scientists, all trying to understand what came next. We're getting reports of uprisings on at least 50 Council-controlled worlds, reported General Patricia Hayes. The species they conquered are breaking free, but there's also fighting between different groups who want to take the Council's place. Admiral Karen Stone added, "Our deep space monitors are showing fleet movements throughout the galaxy. Some species are trying to grab Council territory. Others are fleeing to avoid the chaos. It's going to get messy out there." Linda looked tired but determined. "What about our prisoners, the Council leaders?" Dr. Sarah Kim, who had been studying the captured aliens, spoke up. "They're still in shock. Zethkar keeps insisting that this is impossible, that a species as young as humanity cannot have defeated them. The others are more focused on trying to understand our technology." "Have they been cooperative?" Linda asked. "Surprisingly, yes," Sarah replied. "I think they're genuinely curious about how we did it. They've been asking detailed questions about our enhancement process, our hybrid technology, and our tactical methods. It's like they're trying to learn from their defeat." Meanwhile, in the secure facility where the Council leaders were being held, Colonel Jake Morrison was conducting what was officially called an interview, but felt more like a philosophy discussion. Zethkar's crystal form was dimmer than before, as if defeat had drained some of his inner light. "Your species has existed for barely 200,000 years, the former Chancellor said. "Mine has existed for over 50 million. How can experience count for so little?" Jake sat across from the alien leader, his enhanced mind allowing him to understand the creature's complex emotional state. "Because experience can become a prison. You learned one way to rule the galaxy, and it worked for so long that you never considered that there might be other ways." "But we studied every species we encountered," Zethkar protested. "We learned from their strengths, absorbed their knowledge, improved our methods. How could we have missed something so important?" "You studied conquered species," Jake replied. "You learned from people who had already lost to you. You never encountered a species that was actively trying to defeat you, because you always destroyed them before they got the chance." The truth was even more complex than Jake was explaining. A council had indeed absorbed knowledge from hundreds of species, but they had done so as conquerors, not as equals. They had taken technology and information, but they had never truly learned to think like other species. Humans, on the other hand, had approached alien knowledge as students. They had studied crashed ships, intercepted communications, and captured prisoners not to conquer, but to understand. When they combined alien concepts with human innovation, they created something entirely new. In another part of the facility, Dr. Aaron Webb was having his worldview completely revolutionized. He was being given access to the real history of humanity's contact with alien species, and it was nothing like what he had believed. "We've been in contact with alien civilizations for over 70 years?" he asked Dr. Sarah Kim in amazement. "Contact is a strong word," Sarah replied. "We've been studying them, learning from them, and preparing for them. But we've never had peaceful relations with any species. Every contact has been hostile, crashed ships, failed invasion attempts, or reconnaissance missions." Sarah led Webb through a museum that officially did not exist. It contained artifacts from dozens of alien species, all of them captured during conflicts that the public had never heard about. "The Council has been testing us for decades," Sarah explained. "They would send smaller species to probe our defenses, study our capabilities, and report back. We knew this day was coming. We just didn't know when." Webb stared at a display containing weapons that seemed to bend light around them. "So everything I thought I knew about human technology ... was deliberately limited," Sarah confirmed. "We needed the Council to underestimate us. We needed them to think we were primitive, predictable, and easy to defeat. When they finally came to conquer us, They thought they knew exactly what they were facing. The deception had been complete. For decades, humanity had carefully managed what information the Council could gather about them. They had allowed the aliens to see human technology and society, but only the parts that would reinforce the Council's belief that humans were a young, chaotic, and underdeveloped species. Meanwhile, Commander Steve Parker was working on the biggest challenge of all: what to do with a galaxy that was suddenly free from 10,000 years of authoritarian rule. His enhanced mind was processing reports from across the galaxy, trying to understand the scope of the chaos that was unfolding. "The situation is complex," he reported to the Earth leadership via secure transmission. "Some species are celebrating their freedom. Others are terrified of what comes next. A few are trying to set up their own empires to replace the Council." President Martinez asked the question that everyone was thinking: what's our responsibility in all this? Steve paused, his enhanced intelligence weighing hundreds of factors simultaneously. The Council kept the galaxy stable through fear and oppression. With them gone, we have two choices. We can try to fill the power vacuum ourselves, or we can help other species learn to govern themselves. "And if we try to take the Council's place?" Linda asked. "Then we become the new tyrants," Steve replied simply. "We'll have to conquer and control other species to maintain order. Eventually, we'll become everything we just fought against." The discussion continued for hours, but the conclusion was inevitable. Humanity would not become the new galactic overlords. Instead, they would do something the galaxy had never seen before. They would help other species become free. General Patricia Hayes was put in charge of what was officially called the Galactic Stabilization Initiative, but which everyone knew was really an attempt to teach the galaxy how to live without tyranny. Enhanced healing teams were dispatched to dozens of worlds, not as conquerors, but as advisors and teachers. Major Danny Cooper found himself on a water world populated by aquatic creatures who had been slaves to the Council for 3,000 years. His job was to help them establish their own government and defend themselves against species who might try to conquer them. "The concept of freedom is difficult for them to understand," he reported back to Earth. "They've been told what to do for so long that they don't know how to make decisions for themselves." Similar reports came from across the galaxy. Species that had been conquered so long ago that they had forgotten what independence looked like were struggling to create their own societies. Some wanted to recreate the Council's system with themselves in charge. Others wanted to isolate themselves completely. A few were trying to learn from humanity's example. Captain Ryan Bell was assigned to a particularly challenging mission: helping the Vorthok, the psychic species that had been one of the Council's most loyal members. The tentacled beings were having difficulty accepting that their telepathic abilities, which they had considered proof of their superiority, had been useless against enhanced human minds. "They're experiencing something like a philosophical crisis," Ryan reported. "They believed that the ability to read minds made them naturally superior to other species. When they couldn't control our thoughts, it shattered their entire worldview. The work was slow, difficult, and sometimes dangerous. Not every species wanted humanity's help, and some actively resented the fact that such a young race had defeated the ancient Council. There were attempts at revenge, efforts to steal human technology, and occasional outright attacks on human diplomatic missions. But gradually, something new began to emerge in the galaxy. For the first time in 10,000 years, different species were talking to each other as equals rather than as rulers and subjects. Trade agreements were being negotiated instead of tribute demands. Scientific knowledge was being shared instead of hoarded. 6 months after the Battle of Earth, as historians were already calling it, Ambassador Lisa Grant stood in the ruins of the Council's former capital. The massive space station had been converted into a meeting place where representatives of hundreds of species could gather to discuss their shared future. "It's not perfect," she reported to Earth. "There are still conflicts, still species that want to dominate others, still problems we don't know how to solve." But for the first time in Galactic,